Okay, being 6:30, I'll call the facilities meeting to order for this evening. Roll call shows all members are present with other guests. And as noted, first thing is the approval of the minutes from the January 26th meeting. You were all mailed a copy of those minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or discussion on the minutes that were mailed? Don?
I'll move to approve.
A motion has been made to approve the minutes as presented. Mike seconds it. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Minutes are as presented. Public comment. I do believe we have public comment.
Yep, I will admit her right now.
Okay. Hi, Katie. Katie, can you hear me? Okay.
I know her mic shows she's on mute.
Yeah.
I did ask her to, oh, it said it won't let her unmute.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Katie.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. We can hear you.
Okay, sorry
So-
about that.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. It's par for the course with this technology we have. We have you under public comment, so please introduce yourself, explain what you've been doing, and go from there. So the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Wright, and for the meeting records, my local address is 504 Wilson Ave, apartment 3, here in Menominee. I'm a graduate student in the University of Wisconsin Sustainable Management Program, and UW Stout is my home campus. This semester, I'm working on a capstone project and plan to graduate this May. Don has invited me to today's meeting to talk about my project and the survey I'm currently working on distributing. First off, my capstone project is looking at creating a game plan to be utilized to revise or create a new sustainability plan for Dunn County. In addition, I've been working with facilities committee member Don on what kind of information and data could be helpful to the county. My project overall is focused on 3 main sections. The first section of my project is seeing what other counties are doing. I have put together a rubric that I will use. This rubric will allow me to score and compare plans to each other fairly. Once this part is complete, I hope to have identified some excellent objectives, targets, and other plan components that could be included or adapted to a Dunn County plan. I'm also hoping to find examples of excellent, good, and bad plans that will be seen with the scoring within the rubric. The second component of my project is gathering issues and opportunities relating to sustainability in the county. I'm working on distributing a sustainability in Dunn County survey to gather feedback on how Dunn County residents feel about sustainability and where residents believe Dunn County should be focusing on their efforts. I am hoping to get between 160 to 360 responses. I have the survey set up that any Dunn County resident 18 years or older can participate. I have reached out to Dunn County IT department to see if they could possibly add it to the Dunn County website and social media. I have gathered a couple additional options for getting the survey out there, including contacting others to help, looking at possible Facebook groups and other community ways of discussion and communication. And I hope to have it out there and start gathering responses soon. The last part of my plan is looking deeper into Excel's 2050 emission goals and hopefully provide some info on whether these goals seem achievable within a time frame or not, and how the county and others could be impacted and the aspects the county should be aware of. That's kind of an overview on my project. If anybody has any questions or thoughts, I'm open for feedback.
What would be your, because basically in public comment, it's not a question answer type thing. But what would be an address, email address, or if someone wanted to contact you, how would people get a hold of you?
Yes, I have my Stout email address. I can drop it in the chat if that's okay.
That'd be fine.
All right, thank you.
Okay, was there any other public comment, Krista?
No other public comment.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I gotta get my glasses on to read that. Great. Could you put that back up, Katie? I didn't get a chance to get it written down.
It is still there. Just click your chat button and the box.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, it's over here now. Moves around on me. Right. Edu. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Katie. Okay, next item on the agenda is items placed at the request of the chair, the 2022 Red Cedar racing season. And I put this on there because before you know it, the racing season is going to be here. It's not really that far away. And tonight is just kind of an open discussion. That's why I invited the racing to be here. I would like to hear some of what their thoughts are, or their plans are, or what they're looking at for this year. And something else that just for the racing people to keep in mind is after the spring election here in April, we don't know how many of us will still be on this board. There's a potential that Ron Squires could be the only one left on, and because all the rest of us, Tim is not seeking re-election, and the rest of us have challengers. So it's unlikely, but it is a potential. So you may see different faces in the future. So with that, I would like to open it up to John or Brent or whoever wants to be the spokesperson to kind of what are you, do you have a schedule planned, or what's, basically I open the floor to you.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, we've been meeting over the winter, and we've obviously been watching everything with the COVID stuff. We both have kids in school and stuff like that, so we hear things from the district and from people around the city and the county. And as of right now, we fully intend to hopefully open, weather permitting, on April 8th, that Friday. We are also intending to have a car show. We talked to the Hockey Association, and we're planning on having a car show March 20, the weekend of the 26th of March. So as of right now, I mean, based on everything that we dealt with last year, the Punky Manor was a great success with the way everything went, and we didn't get any bad feedback off of that. And talking to a bunch of people around and what's going on, it looks like things are really starting to open up quite a bit. And we hope, especially with it being an outdoor event, that we can open on time as scheduled.
Okay. So what I suppose what we should do is have you on the agenda next month for an action. No, there is no action tonight. But as far as if you could present a racing schedule outline, your dates, all the things that we've done in the past, we have to go over that, make sure that's all, where it needs to be.
Yep.
So
Yeah, according to, we just did the contract, we did our schedule according to the contract that we have with you guys. So
Okay,
the first available date where we could open would be that April 8th, like I said, with weather permitting, you know, and then we went on our recording Friday nights, and then we'll have our plans to join in with Deb on the fair. And then we also plan to have our World of Outlaws on that, I believe it's July 17th. That's a Sunday. And then, of course, we'll have our September Punky Manor. So everything will be it's all pretty much close to what we do annually. But yeah, we'll definitely bring an outline schedule and any other thing that you guys would want to see from us to that next meeting.
okay. Mike, you had a question?
What is the status, or where do things stand right now? Are we kind of at a reset back to normal, or is there guidelines and restrictions that are applied moving forward? I'm assuming at this point there's no restrictions yet.
Well, Katie, I'll ask you to, where are we at as far as on the numbers and the counts, and how are things looking?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm actually here to talk about campgrounds. It's just, again, I guess, good luck to be here to answer your questions about this. So we are seeing a reduction in cases. I'm incredibly grateful for that. We're down to about 11 to 12 cases a day, 7-day average. About 3 weeks ago, for reference, we were at 130 cases a day. Also, we have seen a real change in availability in hospital beds. So for many, many months, we were bouncing between 0 and 1 ICU beds immediately available. And that's in the region among 26 hospitals, for context. On Monday, we had 8 beds immediately available. That's a huge increase. So we're seeing a decrease in severity of illness. We're seeing a decrease in the number of cases. We still, we actually added a death here recently. That death was somebody who was unvaccinated, chose to be unvaccinated, somebody who chose to not seek treatment and did die. When the medical examiner swabbed them, we sent it through the state lab of hygiene. It was also sequenced. And so it was an Omicron death here in Dunn County. So it's not to say that Omicron can't kill you, it can. But at this point, people do have the ability to get vaccinated and prevent severe illness. They also have the ability to seek treatment. We don't have a lot of monoclonal antibodies that really work. There is still scarcity around that for treatment, but there are some antivirals that are showing promise with this particular variant. And then there's the question about moving forward. You know, as people spend time in, and I don't have a crystal ball, but as people spend time outdoors, we have seen that transmission is not as good. And we have seen that this virus doesn't do well in humid conditions. Hello, Wisconsin, we're humid. So come spring and summer, my anticipation is that we're going to see a reduction in normal transmission. My expectation is that there will be some protection with infection-acquired immunity, as well as folks that continue to update their boosters for vaccine-acquired immunity. And my hope is that we're going to have effective treatment and effective prevention. So we're going to treat this more like an endemic disease that can be treated and prevented, hopefully fairly soon.
Okay. Yeah, Mike.
KT, thank you very much for that update. I appreciate it. I guess my question was more on the legality issue, as far as, are we under a emergency order for the racing, or are we under a guideline with a certain rate? Or I guess my question is more of the administrative, what is, or maybe it is health with you, KT, but what is the restrictions that are placed on them at this time, or is there no restrictions? I guess is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
So I think that might be a really good conversation with Nick, but my expectation, what I thought was happening was that board approved restriction was for the last racing season, and there is nothing currently in effect unless the board cares to do so moving forward.
That is my understanding also, but it would be good to double check with Nick. And that obviously will be a discussion at the next meeting. Once we, because we'll have to discuss it just to see where we're at. But with the what KT has just said and stuff, I mean, we're definitely heading in the right direction. So that's a good thing. That's a real plus. But that will be a discussion for at the next meeting. So, okay, I got a question for, well, Brent or John or whatever. As far as what you did as far as for serving of the beer and the food and stuff, how much of a hindrance was that compared to the old way? You restricted the lines and you know what you did.
Well, so yeah, what we did was, we usually have 3 food lines, and we cut down. We have 2 beer lines side by side. We cut down to 1 for the most part, and we have 3 food lines. So we cut the center one out to keep the lines further distance from each other.
Right.
Obviously, as far as our sales go, you can't serve your customers as fast, but I mean, we definitely got the job done, as quickly as possible. If it's something that, we had to do, we were definitely willing to do it. We would, in going forward, we'd like to be able to open all 3 windows and both beer windows, but like I said, that's something that we'll have to discuss with you guys, next month going forward. Because, a lot of times what you see, like when we're serving food, is a lot of people will come down in between races. So you'll get like bursts of, you'll get bursts of people from the grandstands to get their food and try to not miss any of the show. So that's the whole thing that we kind of look at, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it hindered it somewhat, I would say.
I'd like to add to it too. I think one thing that we noticed with our bigger show, like the one you see in the background, is with that double only 2 lines for the concessions, it actually created a bigger mess because it created a backup and people were in line a lot longer than they could have been if we would have had the 3 lines. And I don't know, like at that time, I know KT and them, they kind of mentioned about the 15 minutes and stuff like that being around. It almost felt like maybe they were in line too long. You get the distance, but you're in line longer than what you should be. And I don't know, there's pluses and minuses. Also too, I do the cleanup on Saturday mornings, and I guess the stuff like how we had to package the stuff, the food, and that it kind of gets to be a little bit more messy. There's a lot more garbage to go with it and stuff, a lot more waste, just because you got your containers that you're putting in everything. And before they were more in like the boat style stuff, but now we're doing the enclosed containers just or because of the COVID and stuff like that. So
all your separate condiments and stuff like that.
Keeping everything separate.
Yeah.
Whatever. It got to be a little bit more messy up in the grandstands, smashed ketchup packages and stuff like that all over. And but other than that, I think our team did an exceptional job, doing what we had to do and trying to meet the regulations,
Sure. So, okay. Does any of the other board members have any questions at this time for the racing? I don't see any hands. Okay, so next time we will have you on the agenda for an action item. So bring the racing schedule and anything else that you want to bring, because it will be an action item, and the restrictions or lack of or whatever we decide, that will also be up for discussion.
That sounds good. And if there's anything else that any of the board members can think of between now and then that they would like to see or hear from us, by all means, shoot us an email or something like that, Chuck, and we'll make sure that we can touch on it in the next meeting.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thanks a
Appreciate it.
lot.
You bet. Take care.
Sure.
Okay, next item here, staff and recreation reports, fair and fair board. Deb. interesting fair board report that you sent out here.
You
I
asked
had-
for info. Good evening, everyone. And you asked for information and I kind of overloaded you a little bit here with
Yeah.
13 pages of stuff. So my report basically focuses on the information that you asked for. I did, I forgot to include one item that we're wishing to replace is some, or to do is update and put some fans in the cattle barn. There is a company called Big Ass Fans, and they make like 6 foot across fans that really move a lot of air. The fans that we have had in there, I can't even tell you how long those fans have been at the fairgrounds. Way back when I was a superintendent, they've been there for a long time, and they do the trick, but they're noisy. They blow a lot of dirt and everything around, and there's always electricity issues with that a little bit too. So anyway, I did forget to include those on there. Larry Bjork reminded me of that after I shared this with the board, with our board, but at that point it was too late. But as you can see, our ask is considerable anyway. But first of all, I just kind of wanted to review the event venue assistance grant information because one of you had asked questions about where that came from and how come county fairs were not included. And so I included some information in there about the lobbyists that reached out, our fair lobbyists that reached out to the Department of Administration and the governor. And you've probably all read this, but just said that the Department of Administration assumed that fairs had received funding from when the county received their funding, as most fairs that are connected with the government are like a sub-department or a department of the fair. And that's why we were not deemed eligible. I did put the eligibility piece in there, and then I listed the fairs in the state of Wisconsin and the Cranberry Fest, which is, I included them only because they're an associate member of the Fair Association. So that was on the page 2 of the attachments. And you could see, you know, there were some sizable grants that fairs receive from there. I don't know if any board members have questions on that list of information or on that event event venue grant before I move on.
Well, I actually found it very interesting, and like you say, what some of these fairs got and stuff, and it's unfortunate of the miscommunication between Madison and the fact that they assumed, you know, the county was giving monies, et cetera. We all know what happens when we assume things.
Yep.
So I'm very thankful for all the information you sent out. And it would be, I guess the only thing I would ask is it would be nice to know what the cost for those fans for the cattle barn would be. If you could send us an email as to it, because that's what they have there now. I think that would be a vast improvement over what you have right now for the reasons that you mentioned. And so
And they do pull a lot of electricity. They run about $3,500 a piece. And then I'm assuming, you know, the structure should be sound enough to hold those, but then there would probably be some electrical updates that would have to be made, and Scott probably can give you more information on that. But I can send an email out with that information and what they look like and some information from the company regarding that. So, and I also included in that report fairs that in the state of Wisconsin and the aid that they receive from their counties. That was the 3rd page and 4th page. So that just for your information, so that you see the kind of support that some fairs are getting from their county. And of course, this is from 2019, because in 2020, there weren't a lot of fairs. And in 2021, those reports aren't made public yet. They're still crunching those numbers.
right.
Okay, and then I did include a drawing of what I kind of tapped Scott a little bit on the fencing project that we'd like to see, especially last year after we jumped our admissions from $1 to $5. We really ran into a problem with people driving through the Oaks and coming down the walking path to get into the fairgrounds to park. I saw quite a few cars actually doing that when I was out and around on the grounds and taking people. It really surprised me. And I think Scott can tell you too, or agree that even during the other times of the year, it's a walking path. It's not to be a vehicle path. But there's vehicles that cut through there all the time. But the fencing basically is continuing the fence along 17th, and then a little fence over by the old highway shop to fence that off, and then going across the old jail lot and across by the Dancing Oaks development. And then the little yellow thing on the east side by the horse arena would be just a gate, because right now it's not gated. And that we could take or leave. Depends on if we ever want to make the grounds secure and what we intend to do in the future. So that's a little bit there. And I did reach out to a fencing company, but with the weather the way it has been since since the last meeting and now, they weren't real keen on coming out and measuring it all and giving us a bid when it was just a proposal or giving us an idea. So and the next piece is, of course, this was a proposal from 2020 for the outdoor combined multi-purpose ice arena, free stage, beer garden building, very much built like the one that's in Chippewa Falls. If you've ever been over to Chippewa Falls and seen their outdoor ice arena, that we can utilize between the fair office and the existing building, and just some scale drawings and how that could be all put together. So that's my proposal. And as you can see, that building was at that point in time, 161,000 for that. And you all know what prices have done since then. So I'm sure that's going to be a little bit higher than that. But again, I didn't want to have to go back to Cedar Corp and have them write a new proposal unless we were, thinking that we really wanted to move forward with something to this effect. Menominee Youth Hockey is also talking about this because with the recent rise and the recent participation that they have with the youth that are participating in the hockey program, and the kids that are going to state, that program is growing leaps and bounds, and they would like some more ice that they can skate on, and this would also help their project. So it would be a joint venture. So I don't know if anybody has any other questions about any of the materials.
Go ahead, Mike. You had your hand up first.
I think I'd have a hard time supporting the county building the ice rink when the hockey don't pay rent the way it is.
Okay. Don, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I can't remember if I read this or not. How many fans would you need in that building?
I'm not real sure. I have to look at the specs as to how much they use. Clark County used some ARPA funds and some fundraising that they had and built a brand new building over there. If anybody gets to Neelsville, it's worth going to their fairgrounds and checking out. It's where all of their auction and everything is held in that building. And I believe down that building, there's 4 of them. And it's probably about the same size. And an interesting thing, those fans move a lot of air. It was like 90 some degrees during their sale over there. And they actually had a few people that were sitting right underneath them asked them to turn the fan down because they thought it was a little cool in there, which is like surprising. You could have it too cool in the middle of July or August, but they move a lot of air and they're whisper quiet, which is a good thing. You're welcome.
Any other questions for Deb from anybody? Okay, thanks, Deb. It was, I found it interesting reading. It opened up my eyes. There's no doubt about that. So, okay.
I do have a question for you, Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I had requested that it maybe put on the agenda as an item, and I see it didn't make the agenda. I also understand from another supervisor or another meeting that I listened to that requests for funds for ARPA funds that are left need to be before the county board in March. I don't want us to be forgotten is all. And I know you can't move on this on anything tonight about giving us any money because it's not on the agenda, but I think your next meeting is after that March County Board meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, our next scheduled meeting is March 23rd. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. But yes, we will when we do discuss ARPA funding stuff, based on the information that you've provided here, why it's just something to show the other board members, you know, what's happening and where we're at. So that, you know, that's about all I can say on that one. So. Okay. Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on, Facilities and Parks Division operations. What you got, Scott?
Good evening, everyone. Well, the first thing I would like to announce is that we have a facility technician that is retiring. Jay Mylan will be retiring. His last day will be next Tuesday, March 1st. He's been with the county for quite some time. I'm not going to say exactly how many years because I don't recall, but 20 some years he's been with the county. A lot of knowledge there that will be leaving the Judicial Center. He's done really good at taking care of the system over in the Judicial Center, working with what's there. He's gonna be missed. So I already started in the process of promoting our facilities worker in that building to take over for Jay, and then I'll be recruiting for a facilities worker to take over for Jacob's position. So Jacob Von Tisch will be our facilities technician over there. He's been working with Jay the whole time that he's been with us, and more over the last year, kind of being groomed for taking over as a technician there, learning all the little things in the jail that need to be taken care of, repaired, maintained, and then also in the Judicial Center itself, which can be a lot. I decided to move Mercedes, our replacement for Marge. Marge was always in the highway office, and I decided to move Mercedes over to the Facilities and Parks office. So I talked with Dustin about that. He didn't have a problem with it. So hopefully by the end of this week or beginning of next week, we'll have Mercedes set up in the Facilities and Parks office. She will be when you walk into the office, she'll be in the front office right there as a reception. So I think it'll work out good. I moved my office into one of the other rooms in the house, and it should work out well. That way, Mercedes and I can work together more on her taking over more responsibility as far as the things that Marge used to take care of. If she's got any questions, I'll be right there to answer or to reach out to anyone that can assist with that. So that's just a couple changes in operations I wanted to let you guys know about. Moving on to projects. The guys have got all the public health area repaired. I don't have the total costs right at the moment, but with our guys doing it, they took and cut the walls, cut the sheetrock 2 feet up from the floor, opened up the walls, and there was actually still standing water inside the walls, because when they did the renovation on that building in the basement, they put in their steel studs, put the walls in, did all that, and then they did an overpour on the floor. So the concrete of the floor is actually higher than what your steel studs are, which made a nice channel for the water to go into. And so when they opened that up, they found that there was also some mold on the inside of the drywall. So we cut 2 feet up, pulled that all out of there. They patched it back in, mudded it all up, sprayed it with texture, painted it, and I think it turned out great. We got a new countertop for the reception area for Zula's area there. I'll replace that. So our costs on this aren't nowhere near what our deductible would have been if we would have submitted a claim through insurance. In this way, we also saved a claim on the insurance. We replaced the carpet in 2 of the rooms, which are the carpet tiles. We had carpet tiles on hand from the remodels, the 2014 remodel and the 2019 remodel. So they were small enough rooms. We took some of that carpet and put that in there. And I think the guys did a great job on saving us some money there on those repairs. So that should be all. I think Zula got moved back into her office. If not today, it will be this week. She did get, okay, thanks, KT. She did get moved into her office today. So they're back in business with their reception area. And everything else is looking good down there. And let's see, moving on from there. Anybody have any questions on those 2 topics at all? If not, I'll move on to our fleet. Got some good news on our fleet. So we sent the 2018 Malibus. We had 7 of those cars that we sent back. Or was there 6 of them? For some reason I'm thinking there was 6 or 7. Well, we got six new Malibus, so we sent 6 back. That's right. Anyways, Enterprise sold those Malibus. When we got the Malibus originally, when we originally leased them in 2018, those cars were right around $19,000 for a sale price. That's what they sold for. So we used them, say for 45 months, they were in service, our lease. And we used those cars and we paid out, I figured out with each vehicle payment for 45 months, we paid out around $88,000 for the payments on those cars. Now we flipped them, sent them back to Enterprise. Enterprise gave us the new ones and they sold the 2018s. We have $63,228.46 in equity gains with Enterprise right now. So we have options of what we can do with that $63,000. One of the things is that Enterprise could cut us a check for $63,000, or we could put it toward lease payments. Like I have a lease credit, so that is what makes the payments on our 21 Malibus. That's option. Or we can put toward any other vehicles if we want to get any other vehicles or need any to lease, we could put them toward future leases like that. My plan is to hold off on doing anything with that money until the 2018 Ram 2500 plow trucks go back to Enterprise and those are sold. Because I think we're going to do quite well on those. Those 3 trucks are under 10,000 miles on them. And that should be happening toward end of March, and somewhere in April is when they will get those sold. Once we get the capital or the equity gains on those, then it'll be one big lump sum. We'll figure out what we're going to do with them, with that money. So that's definitely a positive with the leasing situation, taking advantage of the used car market with them being able to sell them. They sold them for more than what those cars sold for new. I thought that was pretty good. So once we figure that out, once we get the Rams taken care of, then we'll visit that and see what we need to do as far as that. Financial for the facilities financials, I've been working quite a bit with Sarah Stabenow in finance with the 2021 and 2022 budgets. 2021, there's been things that I've spoken with her about to try and nail down as far as like any incomes that or revenues that should be coming to facilities to see if they got placed in the right place. She found that some of the stuff was not getting put in the right place. So we got that straightened out. I found out that, for example, in 2021, what we were paid from the fair to facilities for my staff working for the fair, the money was paid to highway and not to facilities. So we got that straightened out so that the money came to facilities. We got put where it was supposed to be. And another thing, when I discovered that, I looked back at 2019, what we charged the fair for labor. In 2019, it was $17,000 that we charged the fair. In 2021, we cut that almost in half. It was $9,000. I didn't have the guys overlapping as much. And Deb and I had talked about this before the fair, how we cut down some of the guys' hours as far as when they're at the fair. And that really reduced what we had to charge the fair for labor, which helps out the fair budget. So I thought that was a pretty good discovery. So I'll continue to work closely with Sarah on the budget. And what we're going to do also is the interdepartmental billing, like billing the fair, or when we do stuff for a highway department and bill them, or transit. We're going to take over, since there's no longer public works. We're going to take over our billing in facilities. Mercedes will start doing our billing, and then it'll be easier to keep track. It'll be easier to bill and easier to keep track of those bills, make sure that they're getting paid from the other departments that we bill, make sure that revenue is coming back in and everything needs to be, is in the right place. So I staying on top of the budget, make sure things are going good. As far as energy, I know I put in my written report that I had no updates on energy from Eagle Point, but I did get information finally from Dave Plume. He was checking to see if their meter could be hooked up to our neighbor's facility to get the interval data that they need. And it will work, it can be hooked up. So I'm waiting for Dave to get someone up here who can hook that meter up to the neighbors' buildings to get that interval data so we can see exactly what's going on there. They can get the information they need to, give us information as far as our solar for the neighbors, which I know you guys are probably as frustrated as I am, is that this has been going on for quite some time. It seems like it's dragging out. So once Dave is able to get somebody up here and hook that up and gets the data, I want to push on him to get him going a little faster on this to get us the information so that we have it to look at if we want to get something going with solar. Then we can find out ways we can do it and work on that. The other energy thing is I had a meeting with Johnson Controls last week. That's for the HVAC controls at the Judicial Center. We wanted to meet before Jay retires because they needed to pick his brain for all of the information with the existing HVAC controls. And they had a really good meeting. It was probably 3.5 hours that they worked with Jay and got information. So I'm looking for Johnson Controls to give me a better updated pricing on what the upgrade of controls is going to cost. And along with that, this server upgrade for adding the Judicial Center onto that Metasys system for monitoring controls. Any questions on those things?
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
Oh, yeah, Scott, that's great news on getting those meters on at the neighbors. I can just add one thing. I'm working with Arthur. He's an instructor at Stout, and maybe I'm hoping we could maybe find somebody that wants to work on a Keystone project like Katie is, where they could help us determine all the baselines for our energy needs for our buildings. And I haven't heard back yet from them, but at least, there's a possibility that we can get some help there. And that would be good too, I think.
That sounds
So-
good, yeah. Also, I did talk with Tim from Badger State. He's one of the contractors that we've worked with. Badger State was the contractor that installed the HVAC units in the government center building, both in 2014 and 2019, the remodels. And I need to get together with Tim and sit down and nail down some more information. We talked in brief about the judicial center, the steps to take if we want to go toward getting that into a geothermal system. He had some recommendations. So once I have a meeting with him, then I can pass along the information of what a direction we would need to go to, the steps, what things would need to be addressed first to going toward getting that into a geothermal system. So I think that'll be very good information that I'll be able to get from him. Next on, what is it? That's the energy. I guess I'm done. I don't want to move on to the next one without you, Chuck.
Oh, yeah, well, that's fine, that's fine. You, and I guess I didn't, you didn't talk to Nick at all as far as about the camping issues. I see it's not in your report.
No. No, not in my
Okay.
report, but I have some other information for the camping when we get down to that. But I reached out to Nick, but I didn't get a response back, any information back from him.
Okay. Okay. Okay, next item is the Corporation Council staff report, and there is none. The Environmental Services Department, Accessibility Wisconsin Tract Wheelchair Update. And so what's the latest on that now?
So that's where I was headed, and I didn't want to go without you, Chuck. It's
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thanks for proper protocol. Yeah.
yeah. I had a meeting with the Menominee Sunrise Rotary, Court Sand and Steve Macheski. And so we went over some stuff that Bob Colson had put together. I got the information there, talked about what we need to do, where it's going. So what I need to do is finish up the application for becoming a host, which Bob had started, but the application that he had was probably another one of those things that got drug on too long, that ended up being a couple of years old. So update the application, get the application put in, and then it's a matter of Rotary and Dunn County with us working together. Once we get approved as being a host, then it's a matter of getting the trailer and the wheelchair here on site. And then we would place, the discussion is placing the trailer, which has advertising all over the outside of it, with the wheelchair in it, place it in the front of the government center so that it can be seen, and then have electrical spot there for that to be plugged in and charged. The only thing that Dunn County is providing is a place for it and the electricity for charging. The Rotary Club is going to handle the people coming to pick it up, the scheduling and stuff like that. We would look it over for any minor maintenance that would need to be done. AAW pays for the maintenance of it to keep it going in any parts that it needs. They just want to see it get out there and be used. So I'm hoping this is still will go over good as soon as it gets in place. But once I have the application submitted, then things will start progressing here.
Okay.
Get that going.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so then we move on to the next one as far as consideration for actions to be taken by the committee, camping in county parks. Okay.
Yeah, and as I said, I sent an email to Nick asking him about the legalities of it that you guys were wondering about. I didn't hear anything back from Nick. And I did get information from KT that about campgrounds. So I mean, we're not looking at starting a campground, but she brought up some good information that wanted to bring to your attention as far as camping. You know, if we allowed camping in our parks, the situation of any licensing as far as it being a campground, because if you have a certain number of campsites there, then you start getting into a campground. You have to be licensed, you have to have a well, and then you have to have water testing. All that stuff goes into consideration. You know, your license has to have a plan review. The campsite location, there's a restriction. It can't be in a flood zone. You need to provide fire extinguishers. There's a lot more that goes into it, allowing camping and having some campsites. So I don't believe that's a route that we were looking at going, but we did not know that, you know, if you provide camping, say if you have 5 campsites that are there in a park, is it considered a campground? And it starts to be considered that, and you start getting into licensing and water and all that stuff.
Okay, KT, your turn to add to what he has already said.
I think Scott did a great job. There is an opportunity to have just a handful of sites without, and by handful, I mean less than 3 or less, as long as it's not advertised in any way. But as soon as it's advertised or you have 4 or more campsites, it is a licensed campground, and that would go through to the tune of just the licensure alone. It would be about $325 per campground, and that's, I think, the minor cost to well water and some of the other things that you guys would have to consider if you wanted to go that route. So, but I'm just here to answer questions if you guys have any.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
I was just wondering, how much interest is there in camping? And then, like, how would we control, say we open it up for, like KT says, what, 3 campsites is okay? So then what happens if another person joins this group, or 3 or 4 people? I guess I'm wondering about the interest, first of all. How much demand is there for campsites or camping on our?
Well, I think there's a lot of demand if once the word would ever get out. I mean, just look at all the campsites as you travel through the country in the summertime. But I guess I would have a question as to what actually, if you have a fire pit, a bunch of rocks around where you can have a fire that the county put in, is that considered a campsite? I mean, at where is this? If you have 3 or more, you have to have this and this and this and this. But if you only have one fire ring for for rocks, for fire, that's camping, that's not a campsite. But then you run into the problem that Don just said. So, one family goes up there and says, hey, join us up at 22 Mile Forward. And, I guess my own, based on what I've heard here this evening and the potential liability, I guess I would lean to putting up a sign that says no camping, but that's just me. What does the rest of the board think?
You can always
jump in.
3.
Go ahead, Mike, you had your hand up first.
I guess I have more questions than anything. Who would coordinate it? Who would schedule what campers are allowed in which campgrounds or which parks at what time? Who's going to regulate it? I guess I'm more, concerned about how we administer this whole process and regulate the process. Them would be my questions, along with your questions about some liability issues with fire and too many people and that.
Okay, Tim, you had your hand up also?
Sure. I mean, that was part of it. And I know last time we discussed this, we discussed about fire pits. We discussed about, and probably one of the things, and I didn't hear too much about this, but, we said a well, but if you have so many campers in there, you need to provide a restroom of some sort. We probably have to get porta potties brought in if it was going to be a legal campground. I know that Long Lake up Morris Erickson's county park is a county park. And they have actual sites in there, and they are a licensed campground. But they are basically on a first come, first served basis. There is no reservation. But I do also think that they have a caretaker there that kind of watches over the campground during the camping months. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that have to be taken into account. I would kind of, on a number of our parks, I don't know if they're big enough or situated well enough to have a campground or campsites, so to speak. So on those, I would kind of lean towards what Chuck said, and that just have signs up that says no overnight camping. But I think there's a lot of things that have to be taken into consideration if you're going to want to turn a park into even to have 3 campsites. So it's not necessarily a licensed campground, but then you have to start thinking about, okay, if we do allow camping, what are we going to do with garbage? What are we going to do with if somebody brings a camper there and they decide to dump their gray water or black water right there in the campsite? I mean, you got a lot of things that you have to potentially take into account if you're going to open it up for camping. So,
okay, Ron, you had a comment?
No, I was just saying, and you should, first 3 that show up can camp, the rest gotta go.
Okay, but then we get back to the some of the questions that's already been asked as to who enforces it, who, that whole jurisdiction of it all. So,
Well, I do have, I drive by Myron Park. Thatcher's Park, north of Carn as well.
yeah,
When fishing season opens up, that place is packed. So there's one place where people camp.
So Thatcher Park is a little bit different situation.
Yeah, they do have a, facility.
The family that donated that park to Dunn County has a standing permission opening weekend of fishing to camp there, and they clean up the park.
So basically every park should have some kind of person taking care of it. Somewhat,
Well,
you know.
that's a good theory. Good theory, yeah.
But even the people from the family from Thatcher Park, they contact me every spring. They've called me every spring, and they talk about opening weekend fishing, that they're going to be down at the park, do their cleanup, do their usual thing, and they have permission. It was in when they donated it. It was written into their donation of the land for a park. I don't know if there's any other camping any other time in that park. The only one I know of that there's regular camping during the summer is 22 Mile Ford for sure. I have not personally seen campers in any of the other parks.
Okay, so it is a action item. So what action are we going to take?
Could I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Sure. Go ahead, Dave.
The 22 Mile Ford, I know there's always been a little bit of camping there. Sometimes it's canoers or whatever. Is there a lot of camping there now? Is it growing quite a bit?
The times that I've seen campers there, it's been one camper. It's not like the whole place is packed with campers.
Is it campers or tents?
Campers.
It is.
Yeah, there's times in the summertime that there's a camper in the back corner right next to the river. That's it's been a regular thing that I've seen over the years. Occasionally there has been tents, and I have had people contact me. The Bloomer Boy Scouts, they'll do a trip down the river, and they want to ask if they can stop there and tent camp overnight. You know, there has been some people that I have written a letter to them, giving them permission to camp overnight like that. It's been done in the past. The ones like that, I guess, are I look at it as not as much of a problem, but people that go pull their camper in there, tuck it, you know, in the back corner, and are there for the full weekend.
Yeah, I guess Dunn County has gone the route of having a campground at one time with Myron Park, and we had a caretaker there years ago. I don't know if any of you remember that or not, but we did that. And we ended up turning it over to the town to run, and that was a very good thing, because there's always expense added to all this stuff that you're talking about. And I guess my feeling is, if you allow a camper in a campground, pretty soon, you know, if it's there weekends, pretty soon it's there almost every weekend. Pretty soon, well, why don't we just leave it here if nobody says anything? So I guess my 2 cents worth would be, put signs up, no camping or no campers or whatever, and still accommodate the groups that want to float the river and try to stay there, like Boy Scouts and stuff like that.
Go ahead, Mike.
Can you do something to say that no camping without county approval or something like that, to leave a little bit of a gray area for, be it Scott or whoever, to approve some one-offs? I'm not excited about telling everyone they can't, but I certainly agree with all the comments that as a county, we don't want to start running a campground. I'm 100% behind that, but it's a shame that we couldn't let the Boy Scouts or them people can go on the river, spend the night there. And I don't know how you accomplish that. I understand it's a tough question. So if we just put a little disclaimer on the sign without county approval, would that leave the door open just a crack to have some discretion by maybe by Scott?
I would think we could do anything we want. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That way it does accomplish what we're looking for. It does give the discretion for the Boy Scouts and up at Thatcher, et cetera. And yet we're still sending a signal that you can't just pull in here and park. So I think that's a great idea. You want to make that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
A motion has been made and seconded to put up signs that say no camping without county, well, how do we want to say, without permission from Dunn County?
Dunn County or Dunn County facilities?
I suppose it should say facilities, because then it would give direction as to who they should be contacting. Does that make sense to you, Scott?
Yeah, and I don't know if I would say, it might say without written permission from Dunn County facilities. Because otherwise you got somebody that could say, hey, I talked to him, I got permission. All these groups, all the groups that have contacted me, I have emailed them a written letter signed, and they can print it off and have it on hand so that if somebody asks them, they do have permission. So if that's something we can do, I mean, if that worked out.
Okay, Mike, you had a question?
I can I'll restate the motion. Post signs stating no camping without written permission from Dunn County facilities.
You'll second that one, Tim?
Yes.
Okay. Ron, you had a comment or a question?
Would there be like a time where, would it be like if you wanted to camp, would you have to make a 2-week notice or a day notice or the time that you gotta camp?
I don't know if that's, I suppose on the form, it could have the date or the date that you will camp, because then it limits you to just the one night. That's probably not a bad idea.
And that's usually what I've done in the past. Is if I'm writing a letter, I state on there the date and time, dates from say this Friday to this Sunday, put the dates on there when they have their permission time.
Okay.
If somebody contacted me today and wanted permission for this weekend camping, I'd just throw a letter together and say, hey, so-and-so's got permission to be there from February 25th to February 27th to camp, overnight camp.
Okay. Don, you had a question?
Yeah, this concerns me a little bit. It seems to me this is going to put a lot of pressure on Scott. For instance, I could go get a letter and camp 1 week, 1 day, and then my cousin, he wants to camp. So I say, well, just go write a letter to Scott. I got one last week, so he should give you a letter. Are we really opening up a can of worms here?
Well, there's always that potential, but I'm willing to take that risk. If it becomes a real issue, we can always rescind it, I think it's worth taking the risk. Other thoughts? Ron?
Well, most of the people I know that do camp, they already got places already picked out, where they have reservations. And if they lose their spot, they ain't gonna get it back.
Okay. Deb, did you have a comment?
I just,
then-
yeah, I did. I just, I believe, and I was just gonna try to Google it. I believe there's something in the statutes that does allow camping during a county fair, for like your carnival people and any other things that you want to do. So I don't know if that needs to be put in your motion, or I can look for the statute. I believe there's something in ATCP 160 or one of the other departments, but I can't put my fingers on it right now because obviously the carnival comes to town and that's where they stay, is in campground. So I just want to make sure that we're not excluding the fair.
Sure.
Or including the fair, I should say, in the motion.
Yeah. Dave, you had a comment?
Well, I was gonna just say that it's up to Scott. So if he wants to keep the camping down to just people that are floating the river, or just groups like Boy Scout groups or church groups, I mean, that's up to him. The rest of them, he can just say no.
Yeah, he would have that. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, my question is are we doing this for all county parks, or are we going to do it for specific county parks? That's one question. Second question, I'm still wondering if we don't need to hold off on this decision until we get the information back from corporate counsel, Nick.
Well, we certainly can. I mean, there's nothing saying that we can't have it on next month's agenda. Mike?
I tend to agree with Tim that maybe we should have some clarification from corporate counsel before we move forward. So I think I'd be okay rescinding my motion if that's what if you want me to.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense to me. Is that okay with you, Tim? Since you seconded it?
Yes, that is okay with me.
Okay. So then
maybe we should just make a motion to table it until next month.
Okay. A motion has been made to table camping in county parks until next month. Mike seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay, we'll have it on next month's agenda and hopefully we'll get some correspondence from Nick on that. KT, thank you for your input. Appreciate it. Okay, next one, timber cutting at Boyceville Range.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
A thought on the camping yet. Getting to Tim's question of how many parks or what you're going to put that at, I would just think the two on the river and maybe consider putting no camping signs if you feel you need them at the rest of the parks and the boat landings. Of course, not the rec part. I'm not talking about that one either, but if you feel that, you know, this might let camping come in on some of the boat landings or the other parks, I would put no camping on those. That would be my thought. Something for you to think about for the month.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Okay, timber cutting at the Boyceville Range. Scott?
All right, I sent you guys out a map of the Boyceville Range. Included the picture with the packet. And I sent out a staff report also, learning to write it up when it's fresh in my mind. So I had a meeting with Kyle Koopman, a DNR forester, and we went out and walked through the range to see what was there, what the timber looked like. And he recommended, as in my staff report, that so to to the east side of the range itself, it goes up into a hill. On the top of that hill, the pine trees that are on the top of the hill, it was recommended that either leave them alone or clear cut them. They're so close together that if you thinned them out, you'd start having trees that would be too weak, couldn't sustain themselves, and they would go over in the wind. He suggested that if you clear cut it, then it's going to start growing up with smaller trees, probably some oaks and maples would come up in that. Down below the hill in the level areas, that area could be thinned out and still keep trees in there, wouldn't have to be clear cut. We also looked at the hardwoods that's in the hill to the south of the range, and it was recommended to just leave that the way it is, not recommended doing anything at this point. I don't know if or when the last time this property has been thinned out. I'm thinking the one we were looking at, it looks like something had been done, you know, a number of years ago, but I don't know. It's definitely behind on a cutting. Majority of the trees are under 9 inches diameter, so they would be for pulp, so you wouldn't get a lot of money for them. There are some that are over 9 inches, which would be saw logs. So it's kind of, he kind of left it up to us or up to you guys what we wanted to do. If it was a situation we wanted to arrange a sale, he has already got working on a sale for the Boyceville School District that is a property straight to the east of the range. He wants to work with the village of Boyceville. You can see on the photograph that they have property to the north of the range. They own the property to the west and then the northwest of the range, which he was like wanting to get in there, see if you could set up a sale for the whole thing at once for all those properties would work out best. They probably wouldn't be looking at getting in there if we wanted to have him mark everything. Probably wouldn't be getting in there till probably fall. Once spring starts opening up, he's got a lot of other stuff going on with prescribed burns, stuff like that, so we wouldn't have the time to mark it all. So that's all the information I found out after meeting with him. Just wanted to just report that and find out your thoughts.
Yeah, Tim.
I just have some questions. I'm looking at the map, Scott.
Yes.
And I guess just to clarify, we are only talking about what's listed in here where it says the Dunn County plot, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Kind of looks like almost like a fish or something like that. Or
Yeah,
a bird. A bird. But obviously, looking at this, I would suggest we don't do anything adjacent in the direction where it says Boyceville School District down there.
And that is the direction that where the pine is.
Well, that is where the pine is, and there's a hill there because it is what you're saying. And how big is that hill?
It says like a sizable hill. I don't know how to describe it, I guess.
Well, and I've been there, but I haven't looked around. I've been at the Boyceville shooting range.
It's a hike to get up it. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I'm just
and then that
kind of wondering
to
about
the east
stray bullets.
East part of the Dunn County property around to the south. That's all hill around there.
Okay. And you said that's where the hardwood is, right?
Hardwood is to the south. So if I hold if I can do this. So to the south right here is the hardwood.
Yep, that's what I was looking at. Yes.
Yep, this is all hardwood here. And then you can see where it changes color.
Yep.
Right here. That's where it's up in the hill, and that's the pine in there. And then it goes along the north border too. So majority right up in here is up on a hill. and it's really thick. Generally, usually with your pines, he said they're planted probably 6 feet to like a 6 foot by 8 foot square. These are a lot closer together. They're probably 5 foot by 5 foot, so they're closer together.
Okay.
And so there's more, you're gonna have more trees per acre. And in that situation, like he was talking about, you start thinning them out, you get a wind come along, they're gonna start falling, they're gonna tip over. You're gonna end up with a mess in there. So that's why his recommendation of ones on top of the hill would be to leave them alone or clear cut them.
Yeah, Mike.
Environmentally, what would be the recommendation for what would be best to do there?
So he recommended either way. His thoughts are that if you clear cut it, you're not going to have any of the trees falling with a wind coming through there, anything like that. You'd have the smaller stuff starting to grow up. If you left it alone, yeah, there's risk of those trees starting to die out or of them getting blown over because they're thinner, smaller trees. And it may never happen. I don't know.
What about the underlying fire danger with things that close together? Is there a fire danger?
Not that we spoke of, or not that he spoke of.
Okay, thank you.
Ron, you got your hand up?
Yes, there's a lot of these trees, kind of like young trees, or are there old trees within the young trees, or is there kind of like a half and half?
I think all the trees are probably around the same age. It's just that when they're closer together, they don't grow bigger around. They're smaller diameter trees. Height wise, most of the trees are about the same height, just a varying of diameters on them.
And well, like my woods at my property, I got like older trees, and a lot of them are kind of diseased. Is this a healthy forest, or is it pretty much, there's not too many diseased trees there?
No, it looked pretty healthy. The trees didn't, it wasn't like a lot of them dying out. So they look to be healthy trees.
Well, then I would just leave it alone.
Go ahead, Mike.
Is there a request by the range as far as what they would like to see done, or a reason for why they would like one or the other options?
I have not spoke with anyone at the range about this. It was something that Kyle Koopman from the DNR Forester talked with Chase Cummings and Land and Water Conservation about it, and just mentioned about it to see if there was any interest in Dunn County doing any timber sale there. So I thought, well, I'll pursue this with the committee and see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, Don.
I was just wondering, since most of the trees are about the same size, I think you said, what would they thin out?
So
Just
most of the
maybe-
trees, the trees are the same height. There's varying sizes in diameter.
Okay.
Yeah, the majority are probably under 9 inches diameter. There's some that are over 9 inches, which would be saw logs. The under 9 inch would be pulp, and obviously wouldn't get as much money for them.
Yeah. I guess my thought on that, on the hilltop, I'd just leave them. They're still growing and they can't hurt anything up there. And it looked kind of funny to put a bald top on the hill, I would think.
So I would think that the only benefit to doing a clear cut there would be if we wanted some of the other trees to be more successful in that area. if you cut down all the pines, then you start getting the oaks and the maples and the birches starting to repopulate. So if you wanted to change it from pine to more of a hardwood forest, that would be a benefit to clear cutting. But other than that, I don't really see any benefit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
The area to the south is the direction that they shoot, so, you know, having the trees up there is just an added benefit to keep stray bullets from going to the houses just over the hill or whatever. I really think that's something you should consider. Because I remember having stray bullets on some of these ranges we've had. And, you know, maybe that was part of the thinking when they planted those trees so close up there many, many years ago.
You know, another consideration also is the noise. The trees do cut down on the noise. So, and as more and more houses get built out in that area, maybe just leaving it all alone isn't such a bad idea. Tim,
I will make a motion that we leave it alone.
okay, a motion has been made to leave it alone as is. Don? I lost you, Don. Did you second that?
Yes, yeah, a second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to leave this alone. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay, no timber cutting.
All right,
Okay.
thank you guys.
Next one. Carry forward 2021 savings from judicial roof project. Well, all the next ones are all carry forwards. So Scott, I'll let you talk to that.
Okay. Yes, we have the judicial roof project. There is $321,748 left over from the roof project, since that project came in well under budget. We could carry that forward, and that's one of the things we had talked about, putting that money toward the HVAC control project for the judicial center. And then you want me to talk on all of these right now?
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah, talk on all of them. Yeah.
Okay. And so then we had $75,000 budgeted for the judicial center parking lot. Some of that was taken care of. The concrete was done. The storm drains were repaired. Got too late in the year for highway to do the additional work. So we have $58,200 and, well, she got two different amounts here. $58,291 for the parking lot at the judicial center. And then the government center sign project, we had $111 left over on that. And then there was, from the front parking lot at the government center, was $6,462. And that was kind of earmarked to go toward the landscaping that was not completed on the front parking lot, and to fix the second floor men's restroom door. It looks like the judicial center parking lot would be $58,180 is what the amount.
Okay.
So yeah, we'd like to carry these amounts forward to use them for projects in 2022.
Okay, what's everybody's thoughts? I mean, we have, you know, we were fortunate to have extra monies. I do know that there has been discussion as far as in other meetings, the highway building needs a new roof. So I know there has been discussions about, hey, maybe, you know, maybe we could use some of this carryovers for that. I'm just bringing that out for your knowledge. I mean, because we do have it listed here as to where we had intended to put it. And so I'm sure that will be a future discussion coming up in the future. But for now, the action items are to carry forward these amounts. And what are your wishes? Dave?
Help me remember, I thought we had money budgeted to do the HVAC control system, or is that for next year? I know we talked about that. Is that money budgeted for 22 already, or is that something you were proposing to do in 23?
So there is money budgeted in 2022 for the HVAC controls project. When I got quotes from Johnson Controls, and we had a meeting on it this last fall, we found out that we need to upgrade a server for the Johnson Controls to add another building onto it. So that we discussed that with Johnson Controls. They gave me a price that server is probably going to be $70,000, somewhere in that range. And then once they looked at the judicial center and gave me quotes on it, it looks like that project may end up be exceeding what is budgeted. So that's why I looked at the leftover money from the judicial center roof as to being able to supplement that project. I did have discussion with Dustin about the highway roof, and once I get my numbers back from Johnson Controls as far as the HVAC controls project, where that's going to land, then it can be discussed if there's going to be money left over from that to go toward that highway roof project.
All right, thank you.
No, one question that I do have as far as on this carry forward money, because when we went out and got it, we had specific uses for it. And traditionally, when you carry forward, you continue on with that same theme. And I realized that the county, it's county property on the highway shop versus these other buildings. So I don't know if there is a issue as far as if it does end up being requested to go to the highway, if there's a legal, maybe that's something we need to double check with our CFO or with Nick about, just to make sure that we're doing everything properly that way. I mean, I have no problem spending it for what we have listed here, because that falls under the umbrella of facilities, and that was why the money was borrowed. So even though they are all owned by the county, I don't know, when you start talking legal jargon, maybe that's something that we need to address just to get an answer to, just to make sure we're doing our due diligence. So, Don.
I guess I was wondering the same thing. Would we get first choice of this money, or does it go back into the big pot?
Well, I guess in my viewpoint, we get first choice, but that's just me. But that will be up for discussion. There's no doubt about it. Kim.
Yeah, couple questions. Some of this carry forward is because the projects didn't get done in 21. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes,
So
that would
like
be
the
the judicial
parking-
center, the judicial center parking lot, yes.
the parking lot and the signage and those things I would recommend, yes, we carry over, but those are things we want to still use that money for in 2022. But the big one, the big one is the roof, because that came in under budget. And then the question is can we carry that forward and use that for your HVAC control over expenditures that you're now anticipating?
And that was a question that was brought up by Keith. And from my understanding is that they looked into it and that it could be. I don't have anything in writing on that, but I haven't heard any more about that. So I would have to question it with Beata to make sure that that can be used for the HVAC control projects because it was borrowed for the roof.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
Dave's got his hand up.
Dave, yeah,
Yeah, that was the way that's my understanding also. That's borrowed money, so it has to be used for capital projects.
improvements.
The way I understood that Keith's decision was that the HVAC system would qualify to be used for that borrowed money. But it can't be put to a lot of different things. It can't go into the general fund or anything like that. It has to be used for specific things because that came from borrowing. We borrowed to do that. So that's where that came from.
Ron,
I know this would be stupid to ask, but can you put money to the fairground?
well, when you say put money to the fair, you mean, and when you say fairground, what do you mean by fairground?
Well, there's a nice horse barn that we can build.
I would have to, I doubt it, but we can ask. We can ask. I mean, as long as we so I will ask. I will get back to you on that. I doubt it personally, but because that's really goes. Well, I'll ask. I don't know. Mike.
So I would think that we would like to carry this forward, especially knowing there's capital improvements of a highway roof and HVAC. So them are capital improvement projects that will get approved. It's, of course, the horse barn would be cool, but I don't know that that's going to get approved.
Okay, any other discussions? I need a motion to carry forward these dollars. If that is your desire.
I so move.
A motion's been made to carry forward, been seconded by Mike. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor of carrying forward these amounts that were discussed, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay, next item on the agenda, considerations of reports and ordinances to be recommended by the facilities. There are none. Our next scheduled meeting will be March 23rd. Any other comments or discussions by the board? If not, we are adjourned and thank you for your time. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.